I'm Rachel Bateman, and I'm here today to talk to you about screenwriting guides. I have always really preferred screenwriting guides to novel writing guides and books for one very big reason, and that's that I found that most novel writing guides I have read really focus a lot on style and prose and voice, where screenwriting books, to borrow a phrase from Hollywood, tend to cut to the chase and just talk about the content and the what. They focus more on plotting and pacing, and that is really what I need the most. I feel like I would rather develop my own style and voice just inherently as I write than try to really work through, like, how am I going to do this? How am I going to write this? What kind of prose should I have? Now, I'm sure there are exceptions and that there are wonderful novel writing books out there that don't do that. But for me personally, I really need more of a focus on the mechanics, the what, than the how and the getting into the stuff that develops more naturally as you write. Every writer that I have coached in the past, I have found more naturally develops their own voice in their own style just through writing more. Just putting words on the page helps them develop that. But things like plot and pacing, those are learned. And yes, some are learned just through trying over and over again and writing more, and you figure out what didn't work and what did, and you go from there. There is some intrinsic learning there. But plotting and pacing, that is a skill that is learned and honed. And I feel like screenwriting guides do a better job helping a writer hone that skill than most novel writing guides do. And maybe I'm not being super fair because I haven't read nearly as many novel writing books, because I discovered that I preferred the screenwriting ones really early on in my career. So if you have any novel writing guides that you particularly love and think that I should give a chance to, drop them in the comments, and I will. I'm not against reading them. I just have traditionally really preferred screenwriting guides. And I figured, since I am in the middle of my Screenwriting for Novelists series right now, today would be a perfect time to jump in and share with you my favorite screenwriting guides, the ones that have helped me the most to really be able to hone my craft and learn how to properly pace my stories so I can write the best I can. Now, the first, after I just went on and on about how screenwriting guides are better, the first is not actually a screenwriting guide. It is just a general writing guide, and it is On Writing by Stephen King, written by a man who knows novels and screenplays, has written both, does great with both, and doesn't really dive into the nitty-gritty of either, but instead gives a lot of general, strong, solid writing advice. This one is just an absolute gem. I actually just barely downloaded the audiobook, which is read by Stephen King, to listen to it again, because it's been too long since I read this book, and I know there's just a lot of gems in there. My other favorite screenwriting books: Save the Cat. This one is fabulous. This is what changed the game for me when I was writing 99 Days of LANEY MACGUIRE and rewriting 99 Days of LANEY MACGUIRE and rewriting 99 Days of LANEY MACGUIRE. This is the book that I finally picked up and read and said, oh, that's what I've been doing wrong this whole time. This changed everything about my writing world. I just absorbed what Blake Snyder was saying, and I took his beat sheet and I adapted it for novels instead of screenplays, which really all that is it helps me figure out word counts instead of page counts. But I have used this on every book I've written since, and it just changed everything for me. This book probably taught me the most about pacing of anything I've ever read, and I love it. There is Save the Cat Writes a Novel. A lot of people really love it. I don't dislike it, and I really like Jessica Brody's books. She has used the Save the Cat method as well for her career and does a wonderful job with it. But just like I said before, I feel like this one cuts to the chase more and just gives me what I'm looking for with less padding and less meandering. It's just more to the point. Now, I will warn you that while I have heard he was just the nicest man in the world, Blake Snyder does come across as kind of a pretentious asshat in this book sometimes. But if you parse through that and just get past it, there is gold in this book. It is just fabulous. My second, which again can be adapted easily for novels even though it's geared towards screenplays, is Anatomy of a Story by John Truby. Just really, really helps you get a grasp of the core of your story and what you're trying to say. I was so bummed a couple years ago, well, last year, I guess, 2020, when everything shut down. John Truby was one of the big speakers, presenters at Storymakers Conference in Utah, and I finally, this is the year I'm going to do it, man. I am going to go to Storymakers because I want to go to John Truby's class more than anything, and I was so excited. And of course, their in-person conference got canceled, and he did not elect to do a virtual lesson, so I didn't get to do it. I was super bummed, but it is what it is. Someday, maybe. My next one, and this is a large book, I might have to step back for you to see it, is Your Cut To Is Showing by TJ Alex. And this one is less important if you're learning to write screenplays just to really hone in your writing for novels, or if you just want to take like the screenplay method to learn to plot and pace your novels the way I do, because this is like the super, I don't know how much of that you can see, but it is the super nitty gritty of formatting. And this book is, what, 260 pages of this huge format. There is so much gold in there. If you're writing a screenplay, any question you might possibly have about how do I do this particular thing I'm trying to pull off, it's in there. Anything you can imagine, it is in this book to help you get your screenplay formatted perfectly. It's more than you'll probably need for most of your screenplays. I rarely have to reference it because most stuff I just know now. I've been doing it long enough I could just do it. But every once in a while there's something that I want to do on the page and I'm not sure, like, okay, what is standard? How do we do this? And that book is gold for showing me that. Now my next few are books that I have on my Kindle and not with me. I'll try to find covers to pop up here for you all. But others that I really love, the classic, the eternal book that everyone suggests for screenwriting, Screenplay by Sid Field. It has been in print for decades and it is still the gold standard if you want to learn to write a screenplay. I highly recommend getting it or renting it from your library. It is absolutely worth a read. Not a book, but a series of articles that I will link down below. The Story Circles concept by Dan Harmon. He breaks down how he took the hero's journey and simplified it to just a quick circle to help you plot out what is happening in your story and your character's life, to give a great overview of your full story or a particular scene or maybe one act. The story circles are very dynamic and able to be used in multiple different ways, and I really enjoy doing that. Anymore, the story circle is about the first thing I do when I have a story idea. It used to be the beat sheet from Save the Cat, which I still do because it's more robust than a story circle. But if I have an idea, the very first thing I do is draw a quick circle, split it into quarters, and go to town. I will likely do a more detailed video about story circles in the future. If there is interest in that, let me know down below so I'll know if I should prioritize that. I have mentioned it in the past and there was some interest, but then I went on hiatus because I had surgery. So if that's still there, if you would like a more detailed breakdown of story circles, please let me know so I can know to push that video up in my queue and get to it sooner. Two others that I really like are the sequels to this one, Save the Cat Goes to the Movies and Save the Cat Strikes Back. I really like them because not only do they expand a little bit more on different parts of the writing and plotting process, especially in making your plot stronger, but they have more beat sheet breakdowns from existing movies to help get a better grasp of what he's talking about with his beat sheet. There are some breakdowns in the original Save the Cat, but this goes into a lot more so you could get a stronger view and really start to better understand the beats that you're hitting as you plot your story. Another that I absolutely love, and I feel like this one's not talked about enough even in screenwriting circles, is the Nutshell Technique by Jill Chamberlain. It is a gem of a book, and I feel like it is so underappreciated. The Nutshell Technique, again, I could do a video expanding on this to really break it down for y'all. If you're interested, let me know if you would like to see more about the Nutshell Technique so I could really break it down bit by bit for you. But basically it takes your main character and has 8 elements that all intertwine to help build a plot that is fully driven by this character and their desires, their needs, and their flaw. And it's so important to remember that as we're focusing on plot and pacing, that all of it drives from character. And as much as I love screenwriting guides, that's actually something that some of them leave behind. They talk about character and they talk about your protagonist and then immediately jump into plot and like your plot. Whereas Jill Chamberlain in this book really focuses on the fact that your plot is nothing more than what your character is doing and what your character has done and what your character needs. I'm trying to remember the author who said it and now I can't. I will put it on the screen when I do remember eventually, but remember that plot is nothing more than footprints left in the snow after your protagonist walks along. I will put the actual quote on this video when I edit because I just butchered it, but I love it. And more than any other writing instructor that I have found, Jill Chamberlain really emphasizes that your plot derives from your character. And without this specific character, this story couldn't exist. And if it could exist without this specific character, then you have a situation, not an actual story. This one is a phenomenal book. My last 3 are more genre specific screenwriting guides, but they do have some very good just general screenwriting and general writing advice in them. So they are definitely worth a mention. The Screenwriter's Handbook by Tom Fenton, I mentioned this actually in my last video because he is the one who had the rule of 3s, about no more than 3 consecutive lines of dialogue, 3 consecutive lines of action, or 3 pages in a scene, that I find so helpful in trying to keep my writing tight and concise. This is very obviously geared toward horror, in case it wasn't clear by the title and the cover, but there is a lot of just really great general writing advice in it. The other one in the same vein is Writing the Horror Movie by Mark Blake and Sarah Bailey. Again, this is horror specific, and it's a much bigger book than the Screenwriter's Handbook, which is kind of a skinny little thing. Writing the Horror Movie is very robust, and it goes into a lot of detail, and you get some like horror movie history, which if you're not into writing horror is not interesting to you at all, I'm sure. But there is a lot of really good just general pacing and plotting advice too. But again, this is very geared toward horror writers, so if that's not where you're going, one of these others that I suggested is probably better. And my last suggestion that I absolutely love is Writing the Romantic Comedy by Billy Murnett. Such a good book. This one's been around for a very long time and was just updated, I believe, last year or maybe very early this year with more examples from more recent romantic comedies to kind of help you better understand what he's saying by bringing in movies that you might be more familiar with. And it is a gem of a book to really help you just grasp the genre and the feel of the rom-com. Again, there is some good general writing advice, but it is genre specific, and it's just an absolute gem of a book. If you are writing romance or romantic comedy at all, this one is absolutely worth getting, whether you're writing a screenplay or a novel. It is just full of great information. Those are my favorite screenwriting guides that I use for not just writing my screenplays, but for writing my novels. They have helped me more than anything to be able to properly plot and pace my novels to be able to write them. Let me know yours down below in the comments. They don't have to be screenwriting guides, novel writing guides, any kind of writing guide. I want to know what helped you hone your craft and your skill the most, because I'm always up for a new book to check out and to give a try. So leave them down below. I hope you like this video and that you find some of these books helpful for you. I am Rachel Bateman, and I'll see you back here next time.